Hey guys, it's Sander again, and welcome back to another video, and today I'm back with another commentary, and this time I'm going to be talking about Need for Speed World's potential, because we are reaching the, last, I'd say, 10 weeks, 9 or 10 weeks of the game being out, and you think about that, that's a really short amount of time, so I'm going to get right into it. By saying, this could have been my dream Need for Speed. I've made a commentary of this before, but before you judge me, I am going to explain why, what they could have edited into the game, and what ruined it, why I loved it, and what they could have added, like I said. So I'm gonna get right into this. So, before I say what ruined it and why I loved it, and so on and so forth, I wanted to tell you guys what my favorite version of Need for Speed World is. And you may be asking, what do you mean favorite version of Need for Speed World? I mean, closed beta, open beta, version 4, which was, I think, right around it was, version 4 was as soon as the game was released to December, and when December came around, version 5 came out, and, after version 5, I think version 5 lasted until, I'd say about 2012, when the game started to slow down, and that's where the death of Need for Speed sort of began, which was quite a while ago. But yeah, so first off, I'm gonna get in what ruined it, and this is pretty simple. Taking cops out of free roam was one of them. Turning off the chat, and that one is kind of controversial. Yes, there was chat spammers, but I don't know, I just felt a little less connected from the game. Not expanding the game. They did do some of this, but I mean, like, they didn't add any other, like, places in the map. They didn't really do anything else. I mean, yes, they did add drag races, but I was expecting speed traps, the canyons, drift events, so on and so forth. And instead of doing that, the time that they spent instead of doing that was putting in more microtransaction cars. And this is where Need for Speed World made their bang for their buck, just by adding in cars for a speed boost. And this happened every time they added in new cars. They didn't add any new cars for in-game cash, except if it was the anniversary of Need for Speed World. But other than that, when they had like their weekly updates, like I think there was like 2 cars a week that came out back then, and they just put in microtransaction cars. So yeah. Alright, now so I'm going to get into why I loved it, and I think they did this perfectly. They mastered an MMO racer. I'm going to say that. They mastered an MMO racer. In comparison to the crew, it's a lot less broken. And by a lot less, I mean quite a bit less. Because, like, there's only 2 servers at the time where I loved the game. Oh yeah, I didn't answer that question, though. I'd say about version 5 was my favorite, if I didn't already say that. But yeah, so version 4, version 5. I liked version 5 because that's when the whole map was released. But yeah, so like I said, perfect shot at being an MMO. Back then there was only 2 servers, and they were all on the same server. So you can, if someone was on the US server, then you get to add them. Or say if I was on the US server and I added someone on the EU server, I would still be able to chat with them. I just can't see them in free roam, and that's I think you could race against them, but I'm not too sure about that. All right, so then it honestly felt like an old Need for Speed, just because of all the things back then, like having cops in free roam, races and whatnot. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, why I loved it also is because there's cops in free roam. That was really cool, and I loved that aspect. And then there was also rivals to race against after queuing up for lobbies. So say, for example, back then, since there was no hackers, I went to Beacon and Station, the sprint race, and I queued up in a lobby, and I'd be meshed up in with some other person around the same level as me, or around the same kind of car level as me. So that was pretty cool. Team escapes, I also love that. Drag races, I like that, but I didn't like how they had to just completely put a label that said childish on it just because you got boosted by nitrous every time you shifted up, and I really didn't like that. And I also didn't like the decision whether or not to have manual or automatic on. And also a perfect balance of cars. They had, I mean, I'm saying if they didn't have all the microtransaction money, I think they would have had the perfect selection of cars. I think there was around 250 cars in the game, 300 cars or something. It was crazy. So yeah. Alright, so now I'm going to get in how I could have loved it more, or what they could have added. I'm going to start off with a very small detail, like adding more vinyl slots. So say, for example, I wanted to put a bunch of stuff on my car, and I was kind of limited to 31 vinyl slots. That really sucked just because it limited me that much, but, you know, adding those extra vinyl slots would have been very helpful. And here's a big one. Here's the one that I would really want if they made a remastered version in Need for Speed World, and that was purchasing the game for $60, and, you know, you're not forced to buy speed boost points or the microtransaction money, whatever you want to call it. What I also could have loved was adding in the Need for Speed Undercover map, aka the Tri-Cities, and the canyons. Man, they said the canyons were almost, like, I think 95% finished, I think they said. And I mean, they even hinted the undercover map so much. Like, if you played quite a bit of Need for Speed World, you would have noticed that they have the cop radio, they have the pursuit music from Need for Speed Undercover, they have all the advertisements from Undercover. They even have a freeway in the game called the Rockport Tri-Cities Turnpike, or Tri-Cities Rockport Turnpike, whatever. So yeah, that would have been cool. But the reason why, well, the excuse that they gave us to delay the canyons was because they were going to add more game modes, like I'd say, for example, checkpoints or drifts. And honestly, I just wanted the canyons in the game. I didn't really care for the game modes. You could have added those later, honestly. But yeah, that's another thing I wanted to get into is I also could have loved drift events, like in Need for Speed Carbon, speed traps, lap knockouts, and checkpoint races. Those would have been pretty cool. Especially like multiplayer lap knockouts. That would have been so cool. But yeah, so now I'm going to get into the final point, and that is adding in, I know this wouldn't make any sense just because Bayview wasn't in the game, but it would have been really cool to see the Need for Speed Underground 2 Underground Racing League racetrack in the game. Just so you could test out your cars and whatnot there, and possibly add a few races to that, but that would have been cool. And if you couldn't do that, then I would have added the Need for Speed Carbon drift track or course, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think I covered all my points here. So yeah, if you guys did agree or if you enjoyed, leave a like, and if you disagreed, leave a dislike, and tell me in the comments. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.